Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 celebrities who don't really exist. It's easier than ever to become a celebrity these days because apparently you don't even need to exist. Amid a new profusion of virtual influencers, CGI it girls, holographic pop stars, and AI personalities, we're seeing a brand new wave of digital stardom coalescing before our eyes. Still, despite being fake, some are arguably more real than many human celebrities out there. And in the video today, we're looking at 10 up-and-coming cyber celebs to watch. Number 10. Shudu. When Shudu appeared on Instagram with her immaculate complexion and otherworldly beauty, she immediately caught people's eye. In particular, business owners were interested in associating her with their brands. Rihanna's beauty line, Fenty Beauty, was among the first to repost her image, and Temeka Small of the Magic Hands Day Spa in North Carolina offered products in return for an endorsement. Meanwhile, Shudu was attracting followers in the tens of thousands, so it came as a shock to many when she turned out to be CGI. In fact, as the article that outed her reported, she was based on a 2002 Barbie doll called the Princess of South Africa. Her creator, Cameron James Wilson, a photographer based in London, first envisioned her as an art project, having taught himself 3D design from YouTube videos and other online resources. For some, the fact that Shudu wasn't real only made her all the more compelling, but others found it distasteful or even disappointing, especially because of her skin color. Fatu Suri, for instance, a black human model, had come to see Shudu as an inspiration before finding out that she was fake, although she did admit that her own photoshopped images blurred the line between fact and fiction. And this was kind of the point here. As Wilson put it, whereas mass media tends to airbrush the reality out of human models, transforming them into some kind of fantasy, Shudu is coming from the other direction. She's a fantasy trying to break through to reality. In any case, not everyone was appalled at the racist connotations of a white man trying to capitalize off of black people while eschewing real black models. According to Wilson, Shudu's name was actually suggested by a young black South African girl who loved the project, and many others have found its portrayal of dark-skinned beauty, or even perfection, to be racially empowering in a media otherwise saturated with lighter skin tones. Number 9. CelebA. Recognize the celebrity we're showing here? Well, that's because the face in this photo is an amalgamation of many real celebrities' faces from a dataset, the Celeb A, Celeb Faces Attributes dataset of more than 200,000 photos. It's one of just many images created by an NVIDIA algorithm based on generative adversarial networks, or GANs. These networks generate fake images from a real image dataset in an attempt to fool another network into thinking they're real. The generator network starts with low-resolution images and gradually builds up to higher-resolution versions, adding layers for finer details while learning from and informing the discriminator network's responses. It's a relatively sophisticated form of machine learning that has produced some of the most convincing and detailed images of their type. And while they're not perfect, just look at the ears in the image we're showing here, they're plausible enough to raise concerns about this technology's potential for abuse. In particular, as with deep fakes, critics worry that it could be used by just about anyone to convincingly impersonate heads of state and trigger a nuclear war, or at least spread more disinformation than real politicians manage to do on their own. Number 8. Lil Miquela. Although Lil Miquela doesn't look half as real as Shudu, she's established a cult following of her own, more than 1 million fans spanning Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr. Bizarrely, even long after her debut online, many continued to wonder whether Lil Miquela was actually human. Some claimed that her lack of visible pores was proof that she was definitely fake, while others argued that she'd just been heavily photoshopped but was in fact real underneath. She herself tended to evade the question entirely by highlighting the extent to which we all, in one way or another, use technology to shape how we're perceived. Her full name is Miquela Sousa, and she presents herself as a 19-year-old Brazilian-Spanish LA it girl, routinely depicted outside clubs, at parties, and with friends while modeling clothes. She has also released her own music on Spotify and, as a remote-controlled drone, attended Prada's 2018 Autumn and Winter fashion show in Milan. Like many celebrities, she's even been involved in a publicity-boosting online feud. In this case, it was with a fellow CGI Instagram girl called Bermuda. After a bit of tedious back and forth, Bermuda allegedly hacked Lil Miquela's Instagram account and threatened to out her as a fake unless she did it herself within 48 hours. So Lil Miquela did, releasing an emotional statement in April 2018 to confirm that she is, unsurprisingly, not a human being. It then emerged that she, her brother Blorko, and her bitchy Republican rival Bermuda were all created by the same company, Brud, to serve as virtual influencers, or also known as cash cows. Actually, her coming out as not a human being may have been legally motivated. In 2017, the Federal Trade Commission updated its guidelines on product endorsement to force online influencers to make it clear which of their posts are sponsored. Not only did Lil Miquela fail to declare who she was paying, but prior to her announcement, it wasn't even clear who got paid. Number 7. Aimi Eguchi. When Japanese idol group AKB48 introduced Aimi Eguchi as its newest member in June of 2011, fans were divided. She seemed weird. Debuting as the ultimate pretty girl on the cover of Weekly Playboy, she appeared to be heavily photoshopped. And alongside other AKB48 members in a TV commercial, she appeared to be out of sync. It turns out, though, she wasn't real at all. She'd simply been created to advertise a type of frozen candy. But she wasn't just CGI. She was something like a Frankenstein's monster, having been digitally cobbled together from 7 other girls in the group. She had the body of one, hair of another, eyes of another one, and so on and so forth. Even her voice was a compilation of various other members' voices. As for her biographical details, they were taken from the candy company. Her birthday, for instance, is the date that Gilco was founded, albeit not in 1922, and her hometown is the same as its headquarters. After the truth was out, the candy company offered fans the opportunity to make their own group member with its interactive web app. Number 6. LaTurbo Avedon. LaTurbo Avedon isn't so much a fake celebrity as a digital avatar for a real-life artist. But like so many others in this video, she's one that questions and explores time-honored notions of authorship and identity, and in particular how we use social media. Like most people, she says her digital persona emerges through the process of sharing pics and chatting online, the only difference being that she exists nowhere else. She's a native inhabitant of digital space inspired by Second Life and rendered using 3D modeling software. She makes and exhibits her art in digital space too, showcasing her virtual sculptures and environments almost exclusively online. She also curates a digital exhibition space for others to show off their work. Although Avedon has exhibited at physical galleries as well, the nature of her art generally requires people to meet her halfway. At Somerset House in London, for example, this meant strapping on a virtual reality headset. And when she's been interviewed by reporters, Avedon communicates solely by email, text message, Facebook, and so on, only ever meeting face-to-face in virtual worlds like Second Life. We still don't know who she really is, who lives and breathes behind the persona, but that's actually beside the point here. LaTurbo Avedon and her work are the persona, and she's nothing whatsoever without it. Number 5. Max Headroom. People didn't know quite what to make of Max Headroom back in the 1980s. Billed as the world's first computer-generated TV host, but actually portrayed by a man in makeup, he was unlike anything they'd seen before, and he was rapidly becoming an unprecedented global phenomenon. By the end of the 1980s, he was deemed more culturally influential than Michael Jackson himself. The character was originally created to anchor, or rather VJ, a music video show for Britain's burgeoning Channel 4. The idea was that Channel 4 were hoping to capitalize on the success of America's MTV. Before long, though, the idea had evolved into a TV movie as well, Max Headroom 20 Minutes into the Future, and was later picked up by US TV networks ABC and HBO for various series of their own. Max Headroom was also the face of Coca-Cola's Catch the Wave ad campaign, directed by Ridley Scott. In 1987, the year in which he got his own talk show on Cinemax, Max Headroom's celebrity status became official when he was featured on the cover of Newsweek alongside the headline "Mad About Max, the Making of a Video Cult." Unfortunately, this was also around the time that his original creators were losing creative control, unable to pay mounting lawyers' fees amid aggressive backdoor negotiations and the involvement of corporate interests, all of which, ironically, Max Headroom was intended to parody. And in these less than visionary hands, life came to imitate art completely when Max Headroom's ratings began to flag. Unable to compete against Miami Vice and Dallas, executives pulled the plug. But Max Headroom, he was destined to live on in the zeitgeist. 1 month after his cancellation in October of 1987, a group of proto-hackers known as Freakers briefly commandeered 2 Chicago-area TV stations to play footage of a man dressed as Max Headroom. Then, in Back to the Future Part 2 in 1989, we got the Max Headroom-inspired talking heads of Michael Jackson and Ronald Reagan. More recently, the music video from Eminem for Rap God also paid homage to the actor, as have some videos put out by Anonymous. In 2007, Channel 4 actually revived the character as a crotchety old man played by the original actor Matt Frewer to announce their switch over to digital broadcasts. Now more relevant than ever, there have been talks to even write a brand new series for Max Headroom. First of all, though, they need to figure out who exactly owns which parts of this completely manufactured celebrity. Number 4. Sophia. Sophia is more real than most people on this list, but only because she's got a body, an artificial body built by Hong Kong's Hanson Robotics, but, a body nonetheless. In truth, though, she's not really even accepted as a real artificial intelligence by those who work in the field. According to Facebook's head of AI research, Yan LeCun, Sophia is to AI as prestigation, stage magic is to real magic. She is, he says, little more than a mechanical puppet, an automaton following a script that she has no way of understanding. Despite her creator's claims that she is basically alive and that she's a bit hurt when people say otherwise, Sophia doesn't come up with any of her own remarks. When she speaks, she's either reciting a scripted speech with facial expressions to match, or she's selecting from scripted responses. Her tweets and other written messages are also put together entirely by humans. Nevertheless, Sophia continues to impress people around the world, even if it is by deception. She's been interviewed by Charlie Rose, Jimmy Fallon, and the Wall Street Journal. She's even been in a movie, music videos, and on the cover of Elle Brazil. She's also given speeches at conferences, committee meetings, and expos, including one at the United Nations in which she weighed in on the future of everything. She has even been granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia, which, given that regime's ridiculous fear of women, is said to entail substantially more rights than half of its human citizens. Number 3. Hatsune Miku. To understand the appeal of Hatsune Miku, an obviously fictional cartoon pop star, we need to have a think about Mo. Mo refers to feelings of affection and even devotion towards characters in anime and manga, especially young, cute, or huggable characters that embody an innocent outlook. Obviously, each of these traits carries with it the implication of virginity, which is another characteristic of Mo, but almost always without reference to sex. Hatsune Miku, with her big blue eyes, childlike body, and schoolgirl outfit, comes straight from the Mo mold. She evokes feelings of fondness and devotion from her sizable global fanbase and has come to seem almost relatable, which is interesting considering she basically started out as a logo. Specifically, she was designed as a Mo anthropomorphism for Krypton Future Media's Vocaloid-based vocal synthesizer software, which allows users to digitally create and record songs with Miku as the vocalist. She wasn't the first of her kind. Krypton already had 2 others, Miko and Kaito, on the go and has since come out with more, but she was the first to get Mo just right. Before long, additional apps allowed users to choreograph and animate her in music videos as well, turning Miku into a collaborative global phenomenon. Also, as a 3D hologram projected onto a screen, she's performed sold-out concerts around the world, opened for Lady Gaga's Art Rave tour, and appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman as the featured musical act. She has even modeled clothes made for her by Marc Jacobs and was photographed for American Vogue. Although 3D hologram concerts are nothing new, Miku as a pop star is unique. She is entirely dependent on her fans for her existence, a lot like an idol or a god. And that makes her strangely mercurial, ascribed different meanings by different creators depending on their personal tastes. She is, in other words, the first decentralized, democratized pop star, and that's exactly how Krypton CEO Hiroyuki Ota wants her to stay. Number 2. Maya Kodes. Like Hatsune Miku, Maya Kodes is a hologram pop star, but there's a crucial difference here. None of her concerts are pre-recorded. Instead, her voice and dance routines are performed in real time by humans who are hidden from view. Actress Erica Prevost provides the motion-captured movements, as well as Code's speaking voice. There's another woman who remains anonymous who lends her voice to the songs. Kodes isn't as big a star as Miku, but her creators at New Web Labs are eager to emphasize her difference. They're also planning a world tour in which she'll perform at multiple locations simultaneously. She might want to pad her repertoire first though, because she's only currently got a handful of tracks. Number 1. Siri. While it may not be entirely appropriate to think of Siri, Apple's virtual assistant, as a celebrity, she and her ilk are certainly household names, and not just because they live in your household. You might even call them trendsetters. In 2015, Alexa, the name of Amazon's Siri-type helper, became the 32nd most popular baby name in America, up from 63 the year before. According to some parents of autistic children, Siri can also serve as a role model of sorts. For instance, whereas humans might lose patience with or get offended by someone who doesn't pick up on social cues, Siri patiently and politely responds every single time, in turn teaching autistic children the value of conversational skills. Furthermore, SRI, the company that created Siri for Apple, envisions a future where AI might also help encourage eye contact by tracking users' eye movements during conversation. Despite these disembodied AIs being mass-produced machines, they're arguably more personable than your average celebrity. Not only do they live in your pocket at your constant beck and call, but some of us actually see them as human, or something comparable at least. A recent survey by LivePerson, for example, found that of only 4% of people who could name a famous female leader in technology, a quarter said Alexa or Siri, essentially equating them with Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Others find themselves extending basic courtesies like please and thank yous to these faceless assistants, and look forward to a time when more extended, more meaningful interactions become possible. So I really hope you enjoyed that video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, I've got another channel, it's called Today I Found Out, and on that channel we have content very much like this, but we dive into one specific subject in more depth. You can check that out through the icon on the screen now. But if you're looking for something else to watch right now, why not check out another TopTenz video, or indeed a Today I Found Out video over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.